You ever wake up in the morning and look in the mirror and go, that can't be right? Emerald Rocks, how's it going, guys? This week we've got Jeremy Delara from Native Crowds. How you doing, brother? Good to see you.
Good to see you.
What the hell's going on with you?
Not a whole lot. Just playing music where we can, and I also started working with Travis, doing sort of like TM work and merch and stuff. So
yeah.
If I'm not playing with Crowds, I'm doing stuff with Travis, and just trucking along, sort of.
You know, we talked about you quite a bit last night.
Oh, really?
On the show, yeah. I believe there was some call out. They were talking about maybe starting a country band.
No, no. So there's been a bunch of cats that have been coming through town. The last one it was when Willie Carlisle was here. He played at the dude, the accordion player and stuff. When he came through, he was playing. He's a folk singer from somewhere back east, but he was talking about how he had these punk roots. He grew up playing punk music and then wound up playing this sort of folk country stuff. And the more and more I talk to people, the more I'm finding that most people who grew up in the punk scene have shifted to that. And it's this sort of inevitable thing that I'm trying to avoid, where I probably will I'll probably make some sort of folk record at some point.
You are going to capitulate, because we all do.
Yeah.
If you like getting paid for playing music in Emerald, Texas, then you might want to bust out a couple of Hank tunes. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm by the time you've seen this, I will have played at Marshall's last Thursday. But yeah, that's it's mostly covered country covers.
Yeah.
The original. I got a couple of old from this band I used to be in, a couple of originals from them, and biggest show I ever played was a country show.
Yeah.
Yeah. We played American Airlines Center with an outlaw country band.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Fucking crazy.
I mean, I think probably our biggest show, as far as like attendance went, was with Lindsay Lane.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was in Borger, which isn't saying a whole lot, but it was like a hometown show for me, and the owner of the venue wanted us to come play too, because they knew me and I knew us from Borger, and they're like, well, yeah, you play with Lindsay, and I was like, I don't think Lindsay knows what we play, but yeah, I mean, we still played our show. We didn't play country stuff. We just opened for him, but...
We talked about that last night, though, man. So, like, there's kind of a cool amalgam going on where, you can have a folk guy and a metal guy and a rap guy and a country guy, and all these guys can play in the same show,
yeah,
and everybody's into it, everybody digs it, and that's, we've got a scene here that supports that.
Yeah.
These guys in all these different genres of music hang out together. It's fucking great, man. It's fucking cool.
Yeah, I mean, is a really... I don't mean to segue into this, but like the best example I have is a show that we're doing. I didn't mean for this to happen, but it's a show we're doing on the 21st at Left Woods with a band called Snailmate.
Yeah.
Which Snailmate's like this...
I think that's the show we were talking about.
Yeah, it's like this weird grindcore, punk, synthcore band, but it's like a two-piece, and then there's us and Moonshadows. Which Moonshadows is like a
metal band, right?
They're like a 90s grunge kind of.
Okay. I still got to see those guys.
Yeah, they're great. My bass player plays drums for them.
Shout out.
And then Travis is playing that, and so it's this weird. And that was what I was talking with the guy from Tigers when he was in town at Golden Light, which Tigers is a band from Lubbock. They're really, really good, like indie rock band, and it's the same same thing in Lubbock too. You know, like unless you're metal or red dirt, you kind of just play with anybody. You know, there's a scene for metal down there. There's a scene for country down there, and then everything that's between those places are just kind of doing stuff together.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's how I grew up with the music scene. You know, I'd go to a show and it'd be like a songwriter and then a metal guy and then some ska band or something. It's just
the way it was, you know. I mean, I don't know. When I was a kid, it was metal or nothing, and so that you had the two genres of music we had back then were thrash metal and hair metal, and that was it. And so you know, then alternative, and then grunge came along.
Right.
So you had 4 versions of rock / metal.
Yeah.
Country didn't even really I mean, the country bands back when I was a kid just played at country bars. You know, like the Caravan and shit like that, where my mom used to work. You know, but those guys would be, you know, packed dance floor. You know, it's Texas 2-step waltzes all night. You know, fucking what's his name? Freddie Hill would run a steer through the building. You know, I mean, this is, you know.
That's punk.
That is pretty punk rock. Freddie was pretty crazy. But, you know, the Golden Light was kind of an arcing bridge back in the early 2000s, you know, that they were kind of a straight up like red dirt bar for a long time.
That's what I heard, yeah. And then things shifted and they started bringing in all these different things.
Yeah.
And so, which is cool. I'm grateful for that because we got to play there and I love playing there. And if it was like that, you know, how it was in the past back, you know, now we probably wouldn't play there. We wouldn't get to. We got really lucky playing that Hoots show with Travis because typically Hoots is booking country artists, so we kind of snuck on that one. But so yeah, anytime that we can get on something, we don't mind playing with anybody. Like that's kind of our thing. We just like playing shows, and there's usually somebody out there that's like, oh, I get this, and they're fine with it.
Yeah.
So it's fun.
Yeah, it's cool.
But yeah,
it's I don't know, refreshing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I played shows with this guy named Skits, and he's going to be on the show next week.
Oh, sweet.
And he had his like resonator bluesy country thing that he did by himself, and he'd take those same songs and make stoner rock songs out of them.
Oh, cool.
And then we started crossing over about 2003, 2004 to Golden Light, doing those weird mixed shows.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where it started with guys like him.
Yeah.
Bo Salling. There's this cat named Bo Salling. He used to play there all the time. And Bo was a red dirt country band, but like, you know, they would do like War Pigs and AC/DC covers, and everyone was like, how do I do
right.
You know, I don't know, but they're into it.
Yeah.
You know, the guys like Dave Regal, Lonesome Goat. When Loudmouth Lisa first got started, we did a show with Lonesome Goat. So I mean, it was like they were kind of like a dance hall band at that time. You know, just waltzes and country music, and then we were a metal band. You know, metal punk. And that was one of the best shows we ever had. Was with those guys.
That's cool. It's really cool too, because like what you're describing. Not to keep bringing Travis up, but all those guys I hang out with.
Shout out Travis.
Yeah, Travis is sort of doing that too. Where, I mean, he'll bust out that Wheatus cover. He'll do Teenage Dirtbag, but it's so it's the
worst.
It's so southern the way he plays it, and there was one time, I don't know if he appreciates me bringing it up because I don't know if he's waiting to. He was working on like a sort of a country swing version of American Idiot.
Okay.
And we started playing through it, and I was like, dude, that's gonna be sick. If you
punk and country are the same thing, man.
Oh, dude, yeah, no, like, and that was what Willie was saying. I posted on Twitter about it. I tagged Willie on it, and said like, at the rate this is going, I'll probably wind up making a folk record in the next 5 years. And then all these like punks that sort of follow Willie started replying, and there was this one guy, just like an older dude, grew up in like the early punk scene, and he was describing, he's like, the reason that punk and folk like Americana works so well is because their music, those are music for the people. Like it's less about like the music being played. It's more about what's being said and people finding that sort of community. I always loved, there was a Mumford and Sons, when they did ACL the first time, they were interviewing them, and they were like, it was like at the peak of Babel when it came out, and they were, you know, asked them like, what do you feel like being called a folk band? And they're like, well, we sort of got pigeonholed in that. We don't really call ourselves a folk band. We write songs for people, and the people resonate with it and connect with it. Like, that's why we're playing the music, is for the people, you know. And so that punk has always been that way, and folk is just giving, and that's kind of why I think church music, gospel works the same way too. All of them are just like, it's less about what's being played and more about what's being said.
Yeah.
But what's being played is really dope too, you know.
Man, we talked about the church thing last night, man. If you want to be in the best imaginable production environment you possibly can,
Yeah.
get a church gig, man.
Oh yeah.
Because those guys have lights, sound, everything's pro, in-ear,
Yeah.
you know, all the effects. I mean, it is set to create
Yeah.
a feeling.
Mhm.
That is that little thing in there, you know,
Mhm.
that makes you just amazed. That's what those guys do.
Yeah.
For all of it, you know, and it's a fantastic environment to be in. Whether or not you believe that bullshit or not is up to you. But
Totally.
sorry.
Yeah.
But,
No, yeah. I mean, I grew up doing that. Like, that's
Yeah.
how I got my start, was playing in churches. And
yeah, you did, didn't you?
yeah, like I was working in a church for about 8 years, and that's how I sort of cut my teeth playing in bands, and how I sort of modeled how I run native crowds. And
Well, Cody's in the church.
Cody is a church player.
Yeah.
BJ used to be a church player.
Yeah.
Chuck used to be a church player. Like,
All you guys. So
all of us, yeah. When Colin was playing with us, same thing. All of those dudes. For some reason, I gravitate to church players, and church players sort of gravitate to me, and it just works out.
So, you know, I've noticed that with your shows, that like that you'll get, you know, and forgive me, but you know, when you get on this thing, and it's almost like you're in the pulpit for a second. No, I'm serious, man. Like the band is like, there's a little bit of droning music going on in the background.
Yeah.
And those guys, you know, so, you know, I'm trying to capitalize on this. I'll put a little bit more reverb on your voice.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
And people are enamored by it, dude. It's fucking cool.
Well, that's nice of you to say.
No, it is really
Yeah.
cool. I'm serious.
No, I appreciate that.
You've got something.
Well, for me, whether it's like, because there's still a part of me that really appreciates and like is still really intrigued with what goes on in the church. But for me, it's like whatever platform or stage I'm on, you know, like the music that I play now. Like I said, like we call ourselves a punk band, but like there's a lot of punk bands that will look at us and like, they're not fucking punk.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of being in an emo band. Like, the punks don't really take us seriously. But for me, it's like I've always been about writing and playing. Has always been like, I want to be able to say something, but also like allow space for people to be like, hey, it's okay that I feel this way too. And I don't know. I get really, obviously not now, but I get really wordy and I think about a bunch of stuff, and there's a lot of things I want to say. Because I had these people's attention for 45 minutes to an hour,
Yeah.
and especially because the songs I've been writing as of late, you know, from the beginning, have been all these like heartbreak songs about these girls who hurt me and shit like that. But like, you know, there is this. That's not the entirety of my life, you know. Like, it's not like my life isn't all just a bunch of women breaking my heart. It feels like it sometimes, but.
Fucking guilty.
Yeah.
I've done the same thing.
Yeah, but there's this like, even if that is the case, like for me, it's always been like, it's okay. That's what's so intriguing about folk music to me, is that it's like, oh, we're all the same. Even I can walk into a country show and be me and feel, at least what shows, like playing at shows with Travis and stuff, because it's obviously a different crowd than like the two-step crowd. Which is funny because it's a side note, but one of my favorite moments was he was playing All My Friends, which is about his friend who passed away, and there's two stories with that song, but the one that makes me laugh the most is there was this couple out on the floor trying to two-step to this song that's about his friend. And it was just this really interesting, like, picture to see, like, Travis is sort of, it's like the most vulnerable moment of his show. He's just, like, putting himself completely out there, and there's these people just, like, and the thing about two-steppers is about 80% of them can't even dance on beat to begin with. So I don't understand. Maybe it's just not for me. I just don't understand it.
That is a weird amalgam of emotions going on there. You know, Travis is spilling his guts. You know, and then Tex Ritter's trying to get laid. You know, and he's dancing with this girl, sort of, and
yeah. It's a weird. But I just love. That's what I love about music too, though, is it brings this sort of. It just naturally sort of brings all of these people into a room, and it affects us in a really profound way. I don't remember who it was. I might have been talking to you or someone. It was someone at Leftwoods, but they were talking about music and how music. What's so powerful about music is that it like. When these vibrations go out into the universe, it affects and alters matter.
Mm-hmm.
So like certain tones alter matter in such a way. And that's why we feel like when you're in a church service and there's they found these tones and these, vibrations that sort of hit that part of our matter that, shift who we are.
Vibrates them chakras, bro.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's so cool about it, I think.
You want to know what those are? Check out the parametric EQ on a church service mixer sometime and see which frequencies those are. Those are the ones that are going to be spiked.
Yeah. I love stuff like that. I think it's so powerful and beautiful how music brings people together.
Makes us, a little vulnerable, like, we are simpler than we like to think.
Yeah.
We have on-off switches.
Yeah, and even like with metal shows, because like from surface level, if you look at metal shows, it just looks like people are just going crazy and just like trying to hurt each other. I mean, like I don't think that, but when you look at it, that what's happening is, not to get all like over analytical about music, but what you're seeing is this sort of tribal kind of music. Metal is very drum heavy, and what it's doing is it's altering people in such a profound way that they become sort of their most animalistic version of themselves. It looks like just a bunch of animals just sort of dancing around and moving around with no regard of like, oh, I look so goofy doing this. It's what's happening, like you can't avoid that.
You know, that most of your circle pits, they go left.
Yeah.
Kind of like NASCAR and everything else.
Yeah.
And animals in this hemisphere go left, water swirl.
Yeah.
There's something weird in our brains.
Yeah.
It's, that's the way the Earth turns for us. Is it's turning left.
Yeah.
And man,
it's cool.
The good metal shows. I mean, there's people slam dancing, bang around, shit like that. But if someone gets knocked down, a hand.
Oh,
you back
yes.
up. You're back in the fight. I
love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
I've seen. I saw a guy in a wheelchair in the pit one time, man. And he got knocked out of his chair one time and put him back up, and then they carried him around. So that was a big show, like an Anthrax show, and it was awesome, you know. And that's another cathartic feeling, that there's pent up angst, there's anger, there's there's feelings you don't know what to do with, and instead of doing something negative with them, you focus on that, that gut thing.
And to have a safe place to do that's what's so cool about shows. And I think there's this, not like, I'm gonna sound like an old person, but I don't think the kids, because I am an old person. No, there's kids now that don't they don't get how important going to a show really was for, at least for my adolescence. I don't think they care. Like, there's been interviews I've seen videos where it was that interview. It was when the new Matrix came out. They were interviewing Keanu Reeves and I can't remember her name. Carrie Ann Moss, maybe? Trinity, yeah. They're interviewing them and asking them what they thought about the metaverse and like NFTs and all this sort of digital stuff that's happening. And they were talking about how like their kids, like, they don't care that the metaverse is fake. They don't care. They don't want to experience reality. They're fine with like being in the metaverse. Like, to them. So they asked the Matrix people about the metaverse, which is the fucking Matrix. Exactly. Like, we're getting to a point where there's a generation of kids that are perfectly content with eating the steak, even though they know it's fake. You know what I mean? Like, where for me, I'm like, and they, devouring music in a digital way where we don't have to go anywhere to see it. We can, because of the pandemic, you had online concerts, and those things were cool, but there's just something really powerful about being in a room full of people that you don't know and having this sort of visceral moment and feeling safe to do that whether it's a metal show, a country show, whatever music you're listening to. Some of my favorite moments have been at like hip hop shows and stuff like that. But to have this moment where you're all together in this room, experiencing this thing together, and feeling safe to let those feelings out is really, really powerful.
The thing about it is, this digital thing, it is fun to hear it. You put it in your ears, it's in your head.
Mm-hmm.
But the visceral moment when you hear that guitar 412 cabinet and that bass 810 cabinet and that kick drum all hit that low E at the same time, and it punches you. You feel that right there.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, oh!
Yeah.
And you feel that note, and you hear it, and you feel it, and you're like, it is power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those vibrations are going through your entire being, where when we're just listening here, it's really just affecting right here, which is fine. It's cool. Yeah. There's something powerful happening there. But, yeah, to be in a room where, like, you know, my favorite thing is when there's a really solid 808, and the mix is good, where it's capturing all those perfect frequencies, and that 808 just sort of across the room just feels so, and you just feel it, and you're like, oh, we're all in this moment together, in this wave of sound together. You know, you're in this ocean.
All of a sudden, you're in Zion.
Yeah.
And you're dancing.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Bringing it back to the Matrix.
I mean, this is all simulation anyway.
Of course.
Here we go.
I have a friend who likes to, because for me it freaks me out, because if it's all a simulation, I'm the kind of person that everything has to mean something.
Yeah.
I have to put meaning to everything, and so if it's just a simulation, my brain's like, well, then all this is meaningless, and I don't like that, because that means that I'm insignificant, which we are. I mean, that's what's so strange. We're insignificant, but we're also profoundly significant, and for some reason we're both of those things. But I don't like the idea of everything I'm doing being just data, although it is, but it isn't.
This is simulation. Why does my fucking back hurt so damn bad
right
in the morning? You know? Why is it when the temperature changes, like, you know, I bet you're experiencing that, like, when it gets cold,
dude.
my fucking joints hurt.
Yes.
You know? I mean, you know, that's a thing. I used to think my grandmother was crazy. She would say, oh, weather's changing, it's a beautiful day outside, it'd be snowing the next day, you know. I watched weather when I was a kid. Like, how the fuck did she know that?
Right.
You know, she was dialed in to the barometric pressure, you know. She, you know, like that guy in, what was it, Happy Gilmore, the guy that got struck by lightning, you know, and he had like the skunk hair. The guy like knew the barometric pressure more than anybody else. My grandmother was like that.
That's cool.
But anyway, way off the farm here. Let's talk about your music, where it's going, you know, the music shit that we're here for.
Yeah, that's like my...
So you said, paraphrasing here, the stuff that I'm writing, ... And so I assume that you got a bunch of shit coming up the pipe. It's going to be recorded. We're going to hear new stuff.
So there's a lot of there's a lot of stuff on our show that we don't have recorded. Mm-hmm. This weekend we're supposed to get together and work on a new song to have it ready for like show ready. You know, I probably have about maybe 4 or 5 new songs that ultimately, like the EP that's currently out plus these things, give or take, maybe adding 1 or 2 more songs, are hopefully going to be what the record is. But I'm also sort of, I haven't really talked a whole lot about this to many people, because I've only really had these conversations the last few days. But some of what I've been hitting this really weird block writing. And probably a lot of it is because I'm not finding myself in romantic situations that lead to heartbreak, so I'm not getting a lot of material, because that's sort of how I've written a lot of my stuff, particularly for this first record, because the first record's all about relationships and love. And but what I am finding is ever since New Year's, which you saw me on New Year's Eve, and that was a nightmare. But after that night, I had about a week or 2 to really kind of examine my life and how the last 8 months had gone, just interactions with certain people and stuff like that. And now I'm finding like there's a possibility that there's going to be some songs I'm working on that are less about the heartbreak and more about like trying to be really honest about why I'm so enamored with heartbreak, and like looking at my own codependency issues and looking at all of that stuff. And yeah,
telling Noah about the flood.
Which, to be fair, like the songs that I have been writing, you know, they're hyperbolic versions of things I've been through. So they're exaggerations of stuff that I felt. So they're already supposed to come across as like, wow, this guy's really messed up. Like that's the point of the songs. But then to like actually like write songs about like flat out like calling out my codependency, calling out my all of those things, you know. So.
You and I are not so different. You know, I wrote an entire album called Divorce Anthems. Guess what that was about?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
And it was, you know, it was all about the same person. It was all about, you know, well, a couple of them, but and I have a tendency to bitch about politics and relationships, and I'm trying to gravitate away from that. So like this new stuff that we're doing, there's one really self-deprecating song called "The Idiot in Me." That's the one we're doing the video on.
Oh, cool.
And you know, and that's my first real delving into personal self-examination. You know, and trying to, you know, it's important. It's important. You know, you address all these other things. You're calling everybody else on their bullshit. Well, you know what? Call yourself out on your own bullshit. Fix it. Be a better person. You know, I mean, hopefully.
Well, and I think even like the stuff that we wind up writing that have to do with like how somebody maybe may or may not have like hurt us or treated us the way that we had hoped. Like at least for me, when I wrote those songs, like writing "Lie of Omission," obviously came out of my divorce, but it did have to, you know, sort of help me look at, you know, my own sort of insecurity of like trust and whether someone is really going to be there or not. And, you know, even though like the song itself is really sort of angry at a person, all these songs have made me kind of look at, okay, how was I a part of this issue? Because I'm not entirely absolved of how my relationships ended or anything, you know.
That's one thing about that song in particular that I've always loved the dichotomy in that one. You see it in good, well-written songs. It's like, on the surface, if you're not paying attention to the words, kind of a happy, upbeat song. You know, it's fun to listen to. It's fun to dance to. And then, if you listen to the words close, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and that's that musical dichotomy again that is fucking awesome.
Yeah, and that's sort of like with, you know, some of the new stuff we've been playing on our set. Like the main, probably the single that will come out is Jesse Roja, which is about basically is this person sort of waving all of the chorus is, you try to wave all your red flags, but I'm wearing rose-colored glasses. So it's like a person trying to like warn the protagonist in the song, like, hey, look at all these awful bad things that should deter you away from me. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm still gonna go, you know, because I see something good in you, but that could also backfire, and usually it does. But like the song's really like, you know, it's pop punk and it's fun, but it's
Jesse Roja, red, Jesse Red, and so red meaning red flags,
red glasses,
rose-colored glasses. Okay, got it. So it came from, oh gosh, the idea came from, I met this girl when I was I met her at a bar, and we were kind of chatting, and she gave me her name, and then my friend was with me, and my friend was like, wait, isn't your name, like, full on, like, busted her. This girl had given me a fake name. Yeah, she gave me a fake name, and so my buddy happened to be there and was like, wait, I thought your name was this, and then we had this, like, fun back and forth about it, and we wound up becoming friends, but, like, it was this sort of moment where I'm like, I'd never experienced that, you know, because I was married for, you know, like 7 years and with someone for 10, and so now I'm, like, in this, like, the last couple years have been, like, my first, I hate admitting this, it's like my first foray into, like, trying to see other people and do all that, and that's such a weird world to be in, like, because I never did, you know, I was married young and all this stuff. And, dating fucking sucks,
it's awful, man. I'm not a fan of it.
I got a lyric for you. You ready?
Okay.
This is a freebie.
Okay.
You ready, guys? You ready? You can't see the red flags when you're wearing rose-colored glasses. There you go.
I love, do you ever see, do you ever watch BoJack Horseman?
Like when it first came out, I hadn't seen it years ago.
So there's a scene where BoJack's dating this girl, and it doesn't go great, and she says the funny thing about wearing rose-colored glasses is that all the red flags just look like flags.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was just like, ooh, that's powerful. you know. So that's really where that, yeah. So, but yeah, no, I've written a bunch of stuff, and I'm trying to work on some more songs, and ideally I'd like to put a record out this year. It's just a matter of getting the money and
You do
sitting
full length
down and
or?
doing it. I'd like to. I mean, half of it'll be the EP that's
Yeah.
already out, but I mean, the premise was the original plan when I started Native Crowds was I already had three, at least subject-wise, I had three records I wanted to do. And I knew what I wanted them to be about, and I kind of knew stylistically what I wanted them to sound like. And the first record was going to be sort of this, sort of like love letter to the punk genre as a whole. So there was elements of pop punk, there was some emo songs, some just kind of trying to cover the gamut of the stuff that I grew up with, but also writing about relationships and stuff like that. And that was gonna be take the stuff I'd written for the EP, and then keep writing and tell this story. And then the second record was all about. This was after I got out of the hospital that all these concepts started coming. And the second record was gonna be about death and about existence and all of that stuff. And so I'm trying to get through the first record just so I can finally like do some therapy on all the stuff I went through, because that's always looming over me. And but yeah, so the goal was to have a full length that would be sort of this intro into this world of this character, and him looking for love, and then thinking he finds it, and then sort of having to go on this journey into some really dark places and hopefully come out of it on the other side better, which was honestly just me trying to write a story that might manifest that in my own life on the road, you know.
Speaking into the universe, and maybe it'll have intention.
Yeah, and just being willing to be as exaggerated as possible to like, you know, one of my favorite records is it's a Say Anything record called Is a Real Boy.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a concept album about a singer in a band who is just like looking. It was originally supposed to be a musical, and then it just wound up becoming just this record. But it's like part autobiographical as far as like the singer Max. It's partly his life, but also this exaggerated look at what it's like to be a singer in an emo band in 2002.
Right.
And then like 10, 20 years later, 10 years, he put out his last record called Oliver Appropriate, which was a follow-up to that, which is what happens when that dude in Is a Real Boy is now, 10 years later, this washed-up singer who, like, he has a line in the song where it's like, they make fun of, like, these emo bands who break up and then 2 years later have this reunion tour.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that was always really intriguing to me. And then the big Donald Glover's record, because the internet is the same thing for me too, where he's telling the story of a character, but there's some elements of their life in it.
Yeah.
And so that's really
that guy. I don't want to go off too far off the farm, but that guy's pretty incredible.
Oh no, yeah, he's wonderful. Everything he's done, I've been blown away by.
He's quite an artist.
I will admit, I hate admitting this, but I had never listened to Dark Side of the Moon.
Oh, really?
Ever. And then on our trip to Fort Worth last weekend with Travis, we listened to it front to back, mostly because I admitted I hadn't listened to it. And we listened to it front to back, and for me, I can see where it's very clear Donald Glover listened to that record when he made Because of the Internet, because they give off the same vibe to me.
Yeah.
Where there's this connecting sort of tone through all of it, but their songs are so unique in and of themselves, but they sort of flow into each other, and both albums give me the same vibe. And it's just a side note.
You have a record player?
I do.
Nice.
Or no, I did. I had to sell it.
Oh, that's nice. You know that stack of stuff over there. I've got one in the house. I'm gonna move my record player in here. I'm actually going to set up like a 7-1 theater surround thing for watching movies and listening to records and stuff. Kitty Cat's got she's got an old Doors album.
Oh, nice.
And it's a live album. And,
wow.
and the production on it, I don't know how the fuck these guys did this in the 60s.
Yeah.
But it sounds amazing. And when you listen to it, dude, it is like being in a time machine. speaking about the Pink Floyd, you know,
Yeah.
the Doors do a lot from, you know, the Pink Floyd, the Doors do a lot. Same thing for me.
Yeah.
And when we do these parties, you need to come over and check it out.
Yeah, man, I'd love that.
So I mean, I'm getting back to doing. You know, we're gonna have Amarillo Rocks barbecues and shit this summer. You know, we're gonna have all that stuff here, and
yeah, it'll be fun.
yeah, I'll be like, you know, acoustic jams. After I've got to pay my neighbor off, I got to get him figured out. But yeah, man, fire pits. We stuff that I used to do a long time ago.
Yeah.
And you know, listening to vinyl and things like that.
Oh, I'd love to do that. For me, I like, you know, you mentioned the Doors and stuff like that. I have an appreciation for a lot of the stuff from that era, but I haven't really listened to a lot of it.
Oh man.
Yeah, like
I mean, it was before my time too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, no, yeah. But like even then, like when it sort of feels like this thing where if you're a musician, you there's this sort of weird, unspoken expectation that you should like know a lot of the stuff from like the 70s and
you expect to know the entire music history.
Like Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and the Doors and
Yeah.
all these bands. And I'm like, I mean, I know of them, and I listened to some of their stuff, but like I couldn't tell you what the names are.
Old Zeppelin will fuck with you.
Yeah.
Like, especially if you listen to something good.
Yeah.
Like a good signal. Don't listen to it on Spotify.
Right.
Listen to it on a fucking record.
On Tidal.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's Tidal's full stream of it. They're like that.
Yeah.
But you know, a Zeppelin. I gave Fox my prize Zeppelin album one year for his birthday, and I can't remember why I gave it to him, but it was Led Zeppelin 1. It was like the second pressing of it.
Oh wow!
A very vintage record, but I used to love to listen to that thing.
Yeah,
and because I mean, like, there's just so many. They spent so much time concentrating on that. It's not digital. These guys found, you know, a flute player, and you know, and this person's in this room, and you know, with an antique German microphone that can hear a mouse fart, and you know, and then they just, those guys were masters at mixing. You know, they only had one shot, man. On those tapes, it's so hard to cut and splice tape back then. I still don't understand how the hell those guys did it, honestly, because you know, digital makes things so easy.
It does.
Getting off the rails here, but I mean, I don't know. I would like to see a returning of that. You know, like when the stuff that we're doing, I'm hoping to have a whole bunch of layers in it.
Yeah.
You know, and kind of bring back. Yeah, I don't care if 10 people listen to it. It's one of those things that I mean, don't get me wrong. I guess I do care a little bit. Otherwise,
it'd be nice.
But yeah, you know, this like, you know, somebody.
Yeah.
I want to break even on it, for God's sake.
Yeah, totally. No, I'm with you on that because, like, for me, when we recorded our EP, which I'm really grateful for, and I think Harvey did. You know, Harvey was our producer on that.
Who's Harvey?
Harvey Garza. He's in a band called Indigo.
Oh, okay.
Which I'm trying to get them a show here in May. I think it'd be really cool. But he's a great dude, and he does some really cool stuff, just production wise, and also just he's a drummer. He's really good. But one of the things that I'd like to do is to, which we did all of our guitar work direct, and then did plugins and sort of all, you know, did stuff that way, which is cool. But there's a part of me that I'm probably just being sort of a diva about it, but I would like to sit down with, like, you know, put amps in a room and try to capture different sounds like that. That's stuff I've always been intrigued by, probably because there's this romanticized, you know, we've in music, like the lore of like thinking of these old bands and these studios doing like really weird stuff, like amps and sounds and rooms and.
Well, bands like Queen, man, they had tapes scattered all over the room, you know.
Yeah, and so there's things about that too that I would like to do, but yeah, no digital. I mean, all of the demos I do, and when I first started writing the EP, I did all of that direct because it's just easier, it's quicker, and you can do more with it, you know, as far as altering it. But there's something nice about just putting a mic in a room and then like kind of getting the room noise as well as whatever you're doing. I think that'd be fun.
So like on some of these live shows, capturing the room noise. I've got one with this metal band that I recorded. I've got a board mix. There's a little bit of audience noise, but it's pretty dry, you know. But I had that camera set up in the room with the gain down. You just capture just enough noise in the room. I'll take the audio and the video from that thing, blend it with the board mix, and so you know you can mix this really cool live environment.
Yeah.
You know, and I love stuff like that, man. The Toadies, I went for the Toadies.
Oh, cool.
We did a show with the Toadies, and they set up these two little cross mics right in the front of the stage. What the fuck is that for? It's like
Yeah.
capture audience noise. I'm like, why? I'm like, it's a live album, you know. It's just
Yeah.
they were recorded. I'm like,
Yeah.
just to make it more real. I'm like, oh, fucking brilliant.
Yeah, I've only ever seen like audience mics like that for in-ear stuff.
Yeah.
That's about it, and that's just because of my church background. Because
Yeah.
like, it helps you feel like you're not so isolated from everybody. But I never thought about that. Yeah, if you're recording like a live record, that if you want it to sound live, you have to capture the people that are cheering and stuff.
Yeah. And just keep it under control.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
All right, so maybe an album this year.
Maybe at the very least, we're gonna record some songs and have them out. And it really, it's, the guys hate it. Mostly Chuck hates it, but all of them are sort of, it's all kind of contingent on what I get written and done.
Well, Chuck Taylor, get your ass a pen and a paper, start writing some songs. We don't fucking like it.
I'm sure he would like that, and I try to give those guys space to do that, but like a lot of what the writing comes from me, and that's just kind of how we've had this thing set up from the get-go. But Chuck's just like he likes all of them. They just want to play, and we've been playing the same songs for about a year and a half now.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to get my head out of my ass and write. But it's just sort of also the thing of like I've just been trying to process what I'm feeling, and then in turn hopefully write something out of it, which is so esoteric and or I'm an artist kind of bullshit, but like that's as much as I make fun of it, I have the self-awareness to know that I can be insufferable in that way sometimes. I get it. I know. Like it's who I am. I'm trying to be better about it, but
whatever flavor, I mean, Kool-Aid's got to taste like Kool-Aid, man. You gotta you don't want it to taste like Dr. Pepper.
But the hope is the hope is to get some things recorded and some new stuff out. I've had video idea concepts already. I've had those done in my brain for a long time, and I'd like to do stuff like that. Just kind of get more creative, but the hard thing, and I've said this, I tell people this all the time. For me, the writing and the putting out a record and all that stuff, I want to do that, and I love it, and I would love to put out a piece of work, that's art and it's mine and stuff like that. I do like that idea, but for me, those are sort of necessary evils in order to play shows. Because for me, that's where I'm alive, is when I'm playing in front of people on a stage. That's where I that's where I live. And so if I have to write songs to make that happen, then great. But it also gives me a way to process what I'm feeling when some girl breaks my heart or something. But, I just like playing shows. And it's trying to make that happen and do it in a way that, is worth it for my guys who play for me, and because I would take any show, but I also don't have the bankroll to drop and make it worth these guys' while.
Yeah, for sure.
So I have to be mindful of that stuff too.
That's what makes a good band, though, is when you got everybody on board. Everybody kind of knows the score, No one's getting rich off of this. We're doing it because we enjoy it. Yeah. And if you got guys that'll support you on something like that, that is a gift.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of my apprehension is probably self-inflicted because all these guys,
really?
Yeah, I know, right? I love all of them, and they've been a really great addition to what I've been doing. But I've always said from the beginning when I first started this thing was that Native Crowds was predominantly, it was me, and then anybody who wanted to join in. Anyone who decided to show up that day, that's
a revolving door.
And it just so happens that the folks that walked through that door never left, and I'm really grateful for that. But I'm also aware that
shout out to you guys.
I hope we're literally just having a conversation in our group chat about this, and so I'm it's on my mind, and I don't want to be misunderstood and make it sound like I'm not grateful for these guys and what they've been doing. But I also am just like aware that like they have, you know, they might have other things. I don't want them to feel this pressure that they have to, you know, like I love what we're doing together, and we're always, you know, for as long as they want to keep doing it, I'm down. You know, the hard part is it's like now they're waiting on me to have things written and stuff like that, and so I again, that's another pressure I think I just kind of put on myself, but I do that in general anyway. Yeah. But I am very grateful for them, and even dudes like, you know, Colin doesn't play with us anymore, but you know, the amount of time that he spent with us was really cool, and yeah. You know, like I'm really grateful for all those guys, and they help provide some really cool colors to this painting that I've been trying to make for the last 2 or 3 years. And I'm really grateful for that. And I'm with you, like you were talking about earlier, you know, like to putting out a piece of work, and even if like only like 10 people heard it, for me, like that's like these records I want to make, like I would love for a bunch of people to hear them, but it's more for me, and like these things that I'm like I want to make and like be able to set and like look at, and if another person wants to look at it, it's like cool, but you know, I want to do this for me. You know?
Yeah, but we both know you're past that point. I've seen people singing your shit, so
you know,
including myself, I sing your shit too.
That's been really cool. I've been really grateful for that.
Nothing beats that feeling, man.
It is really nice.
When that is, you know, when you identify with your audience, you know, you feel like they identify with you.
Yeah.
You know, that feeling is like, oh, okay, it's a validation, man. It's a type of validation.
Yeah, and it's really sweet. And I think a lot of my like trying to be like, I'm just doing this for me thing is more like a defense, because like I used to I used to in the past be, and I'm saying all this stuff now, but I'm sure if, you know, like in an hour I'm gonna go home and be like, oh, I hope I didn't say anything, people don't like me. But like, you know, I'm trying really hard to combat that feeling of needing that validation. Mm-hmm. Being grateful for it, but not necessarily needing it. Like when somebody does sing one of our songs, like it's so cool and I'm so happy for it. But like if they weren't, it's not gonna destroy me. You know what I mean? Like, oh, no one knows my music. Like it's fine, you know. And that sounds like But
that's the thing. The good music stands on its own.
Right.
And your shit is good and it stands on its own.
Well,
you know?
Thanks, man. Yeah. That's very kind of you. I appreciate that. So, I think I just want to be able to, and describing all that sounds like what a normal person just operates at. It's like, well, yeah, if someone likes it, cool, but I don't need them to. But I cannot tell you how hard that is for me to like be okay with that. Like if people don't, you know, if people aren't resonating with it, that it's okay. Like I'm still making this thing mostly for me. I just happen to be lucky enough that there have been people that are like, yeah, I'm here for this thing. Like whether it's the guys that are playing in native crowds or the people watching, both, they're all, you know, on board, and that's really nice because I don't know, it's just nice to not be by myself. So
on that, I think that's a good place to call it right there.
Yeah.
So what's your next show? Monday the 21st?
So we're playing 2 times in 1 week. We're playing the 21st at Left Woods with Snailmate and Coolsey from Arizona. Moonshadows, Travis Roberts, and us are on that show. And then that following Friday on the 25th, we're playing at Left Woods again with Like Red Giants and a band from Oklahoma City called Like Before.
Like Red Giants, Like Before.
Yep. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So
that's 5 bands Monday.
I think so. Yeah.
Ugh,
yeah.
You guys are killing me with
this
shit.
I think the nice thing though is that because Cody's playing in Moonshadows, we probably gonna backline drums for the 3 locals.
Yeah.
So that won't be bad.
All right.
So it'll be fine. But yeah.
I'm giving you shit. All right, buddy. Thanks for doing the show.
Course,
appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Everyone rocks. Look out for Native Crowds. I'll put links in the description. Spotify, YouTube.
Yeah, we're on all of it. On all of it. TikTok, Instagram, all of it.
Yeah. There's some playlists on Spotify called Young Guns. The Emerald Rocks official playlist is out there. Look for Native Crowds on there. Thanks, brother.
Yeah. Glad you're here.
All right. Glad you're here.
Yeah.
Fucking A.